Hey folks, Professor Finn here, and today we're going to be continuing our study of restorative art with the topic of lacerations, which is chapter 10b in Ralph Klicker's Restorative Arts book. Before we get into that, take a moment to like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications button, drop something in the comments below, let me know where you're listening from, and let's go ahead and get the screen shared. Once again, no pictures on these, just because I don't feel like getting any strikes to the channel. I sometimes get hit with the embalming videos. Not that I monetize anything, but I would rather not have things blocked for trauma. So let's get into lacerations.
This is some.
As you may remember, a laceration is a non-clean cut, is the great way to remember it, a wound or irregular tear of the flesh, whereas an incision is a clean cut into the tissue. And in the previous chapter, we studied abrasions, and we learned that lacerations can occur inside abrasions. You might have to address the laceration and then address the abrasion as a whole. Facial markings, the character lines, wrinkles, grooves, cords, and dimples of the face and neck. Sealer is a quick-drying liquid that leaves a hard, thin, transparent coat or layer through which moisture cannot pass. And incision sealing powder, a powder that is put in incision just prior to suturing. When the powder comes into contact with moisture, it forms a soft, solid barrier against leakage. Dehydration is the partial loss of moisture content. Suture, the act of sewing, also the completed stitch. And a temporary suture is a suture that will be removed. Basket weave suture is a network of stitches employed to cross the borders of a cavity or excision used to anchor fillers and to sustain the tissues in their proper positions. A subcutaneous suture is a suture situated or occurring beneath the surface. And mastic compound is a putty-like substance, an absorbent adhesive that can be injected under the skin or applied to surface tissues to establish skin contour. So, causes for lacerations, these typically occur as a result of blunt force trauma, whereas incisions are caused by blades. If you're stabbed by something or cut by something, it should be a clean cut, right? If you are hit with something that grabs your skin, pulls and tears it, it's probably going to be jagged, uneven, and that would be a laceration. Treatment for a laceration is identical for exposed and non-exposed areas. The difference in treatment, if any, will be the surface treatment. So what you do to take care of the laceration, stop the thing from leaking, is the same no matter where it is. How you treat it is going to, visibly is what is going to matter if it is a visible or non-visible area. So in general, before embalming, it may be necessary to make temporary sutures of loose flaps of skin in order to hold them in place during embalming. This will prevent unnecessary distortion of the tissues. Use a minimal number of sutures since you're going to be removing them, and the more holes you make, the more leaks you will have. They should not be pulled tight, such as to distort markings or features of the deceased. The goal is to align things and make it look normal to serve a basis for future restoration. Inside of the wound should be dried with a cauterant pack to dry the tissue. That's simply gauze or cotton stuffed into the area, saturated with phenolic acid. Massage cream should be applied to the outside of the wound and surrounding area to prevent dehydration. Also protects it against the carbolic acid that you're going to be using in case it drips someplace it shouldn't or leaks somewhere it shouldn't, because you don't want that creating lines and streaks. After embalming, the wound should be dried once again with cotton. Wound should be brushed with sealer below the surface. After the sealer dries, pack with cotton and incision sealing powder or mortuary mastic. Now, when using sealing powder, as seal powder gets wet, it will grow in size. So with use, you'll kind of get an idea of how much you should put in what areas so that it doesn't form a golf ball under the skin, especially if you encounter a lot of liquid. All dehydrated pieces of skin on the edges should be removed, i.e. all dead skin. Dehydrated skin is basically dead skin, treated as dead skin. All the dead skin needs to go. The good news is if it's dehydrated, at least it won't decompose if it gets left somewhere, but You don't really need jagged edges. You're going to want to feather your wax, and dehydrated pieces of skin don't tend to want to hide right. If the wound permits the skin to come together without distorting features or markings, suture using subcutaneous suture or super glue. I'd probably say most professionals would err on the side of super glue. Hide your suture with wax over the line of closure, and natural skin pores and texture should be simulated and cosmetic applied. Once again, you can grab the stipple brush, the orange peel, the gauze, the paper towel. If you are going to grab the paper towel, make sure you grab something that doesn't have like a cute little flower pattern. The pores should not look like flowers. If the wound is too large, draw the edges together with sutures without distorting features or markings. Wax or mastic should be applied over the packing to make it level with the surrounding area. A basket weave suture can be stitched across the laceration to act as an anchor for the wax or mastic. Pores and natural facial lines are reproduced as necessary, and cosmetics are applied. Remember, if you're doing some deep wound filling, you want to use the heaviest wax, the firm wax, to about maybe 1/4 inch of the surface, and then from there you're going to use lighter waxes in order to create the natural appearance of skin. Key points to remember: wait until the sealer has dried before applying wax or mastic, or it will prevent the sealer from drying. It needs air to dry, plain and simple. If cosmetics are applied over wet sealer, colors will be considerably brighter. So this is not in the text. Eyelids. This treatment is somewhat archaic, but still of importance. I think I pulled this treatment from the Restorative Art by J. Sheridan Mayer book. After embalming, excise badly lacerated eyelids and reconstruct with wax. Working under a principle, if it's all dead up there, you're probably just better off getting rid of it so it doesn't rot, and then recreate the eyelid. It may be possible to use an eye cap as an anchor over the eyeball as a foundation, since wax will not readily adhere to the eye. That's really probably your best bet. I wouldn't suggest that you just grab some cotton and then try to pack wax over it. You want something a bit more rigid. Margins of the eye are dried chemically and or seared with an electric spatula. If necessary, suture margins to deep tissue. If the lower edge of the upper eyelid and eyelash are in good condition, you could incise the lacerated area, draw it down to the line of closure, and use an eye cap and wax to fill the incised area. In other words, if the margin of the eye is okay, but simply the eyelid itself is lacerated and chewed up, you could trim away the dead skin, put the eye in the proper position, or put an eye cap in, put the eye in the proper position, and then rebuild the lid so you don't have to redo like eyelash reconstruction. Not that that's hard, because you can buy pre-made eyelashes and trim them down. If you have a clean vertical tear, use super glue adhesive to seal off the area. Use of an eye cap to hold things in place is recommended. So if you just have a small cut in the eye, a small laceration, if you can fix it with super glue, that's your best bet. If the eye can be saved, or if the eyelid can be saved, maybe a surface compress. One of the things you'll see in embalming is you can put some cotton on top of the eye cap, put a couple drops of cavity fluid, close the eye. That'll help penetrate from the bottom. You could put a surface pack of cavity fluid or autopsy gel on the top of the eyelid for a couple of minutes to help penetrate and preserve it. Eyelids are very thin. You can probably do surface preservation and get away with it just fine. Lips. A single tear is easily restored with super glue or other adhesives after tissues are dried chemically. That's carbolic acid. You could also use an electric spatula. A small adjustment with wax may be necessary, and badly lacerated mucous membranes may need to be excised and the feature reconstructed in wax. If you are going to go the, hey, I'm going to cut their lips off and recreate it in wax route, you are going to want to get permission from the legally authorized person to do those things. It is very necessary for you as a funeral director to learn a vocabulary on how to explain some of these things in a clinical fashion. That's why you come to mortuary school and learn some of the terms that you do. So you're not going to say, yeah, we need to cut off your loved one's lips in order to go ahead and fix it. You could say something along the lines of, as you may have seen at the hospital, there was severe trauma to the face. We may have to excise some of the tissue, say on the lips where some of the trauma was greatest, in order to reconstruct those features for a for a good presentation. Um, Learning how to speak to families in these hard situations is never really a comfortable thing. You just simply get better at it, and your vocabulary improves as you use certain terms. This is why role playing with your friends at work, doing mock arrangements, going through and trying to think of better phrasing is so important to what we do, because we can practice it before we have to go live with it. All right, folks, this concludes this lecture. Once again, take a moment to like, share, subscribe, click notifications, share this on your social media, let people know it exists, and let me know where you're listening from in the comments below. This is Professor Finn signing off. We'll see you next video.